Many people assume that all major religions are simply different paths scaling the exact same spiritual mountain. It is a comforting idea, but it often glosses over the specific mechanics of what these traditions actually teach. When the philosopher Rudolf Steiner compared Buddhism and Christianity, critics claimed he was doing exactly that, taking Eastern concepts like reincarnation and repackaging them for a Western audience. Steiner argued his critics were missing the bigger picture. He pointed to an analogy by the scholar Max Mueller, who observed that authentic Buddhism is like a pig's natural grunt, the real deal. Many modern spiritual movements, however, are merely people imitating that grunt. Steiner's goal was to isolate the authentic core of each worldview to show how different they truly are. These two traditions are climbing different mountains. The divergence begins with how each answers one basic question: what is the human self? To define the self, Steiner points to an ancient text involving King Melinda and a sage named Nagasena. Nagasena takes the king's chariot apart piece by piece. He asks, is the axle the chariot? The wheels? The seat? Every time, the king must answer no. The Buddhist takeaway is that chariot is just a label for a temporary pile of parts. The human I is the same, a name for a collection of thoughts and body parts, with no permanent soul holding the structure together. In the Christian view, the self acts as the driver. It is the invisible, unifying ego that gives the physical parts their purpose. Defining the self as a temporary illusion versus an enduring core leads to a second logical divergence: how one interprets the physical world. The Buddha's realization began when he stepped out of his palace and saw a corpse for the very first time. For him, this was proof that physical existence is painful and fleeting. This led to the concept of Maya, or illusion. If the world itself is the source of suffering, then salvation requires turning away from it. The central image of Christianity also features a corpse, but the symbol suggests the opposite of futility. Steiner argues that here the physical world is real. The cross serves as a promise of eternal life, a sign that death has been conquered and transformed into a new beginning. Where one philosophy sees the outer world as a literal illusion, the other believes the world is real, and the illusion stems from our own flawed perception of it. These definitions dictate the ultimate goal of a human life. The Buddhist path seeks to extinguish the thirst for existence, the urge that pulls a person back into physical life and its accompanying pain. Steiner defines this as a religion of release, designed specifically to achieve freedom from the cycle of earthly life. The Christian goal points toward embracing life. The fruits of an individual's experiences are carried forward to be perfected over time. Steiner calls this a religion of rebirth. Every experience becomes a building block for the soul, meant to be reawakened and lifted into a higher form across many lifetimes. These two missions, escaping the world versus building upon it, suggest a deep disagreement regarding the very nature of time. This is where Steiner's comparison reaches its climax. The differing goals of release and rebirth culminate in two opposed ways of understanding how time moves. The Buddhist outlook is non-historical. Time is a repeating cycle of suffering, where the relationship between the person and the world remains static in every life. The Christian outlook is historical. Time is a progressive evolution, where the soul learns and grows through sequential experiences. This distinction in time addresses the critique that Steiner was merely copying Eastern ideas. These paths follow opposite evolutionary trajectories. Through the non-historical lens, earthly life is a prison sentence of suffering to be escaped. Through the historical lens, life becomes a workshop. It is the place where the soul, through repeated experiences, forges an eternal spiritual self. Steiner felt this was best captured by Goethe, who described human actions as being woven into the fabric of eternity. It leaves us with a final thought. Is life a prison to escape, or a workshop meant to forge something that lasts forever?